All right, guys, what I hope to be able to accomplish here is I want to be able to show you how you can make twisted thread yourself. And I realize there might be crafters watching this video. There might be people trying to learn how to make furled leaders for fishing watching this video, and there might be rod builders watching this video. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel if you like what you see here. I think you'll find we have a lot of things in common. If you're building fishing rods, you're in the craft stores sometimes looking for things to use for that. We can all learn from each other also. If you're trying to learn how to make furled leaders, this probably isn't exactly what you're looking for, but I think some of the concepts here will give you some ideas. What I'm doing here is I'm using a drill with a paper clip attached to it, and it's open on one end. I hope you can see that. So it's got a hook on one end. And the other thing I'm going to be using is two swivels that are used for fishing. I've got them connected together. I've got one swivel that's locked down through the eye of the other swivel, and I leave this swivel open. And I like to use the fishing swivels because they spin pretty freely if you get some good ones. Some of the cheaper ones don't. And you don't need a lot of tension to get them to spin the way that you want them to do this. So we're going to twist together two threads to make one thread. Normally I would be twisting together threads that I use for building fishing rods. But on this video, it's going to be impossible for me with the equipment I've got to be able to show you how to do that with the thread itself. So instead, I'm going to be using this heavier cord because I think it'll show up a lot better on the video. The idea is the same. You're just using smaller diameter thread when you're using the rod building thread. So you could do this with sewing thread too. In fact, these are embroidery threads that I'm using for building fishing rods. If you're looking for decorative thread, that's a pretty neat way to come up with some, and you can make any color combination you want. I found different colors that go good together, like this brown and orange, or the black and the chartreuse color look good together. And I even have a metallic and a blue, a metallic thread, silver and a blue thread that go really nice together. So you can make your own color combinations. And I've got two pieces of thread, two different colors. I'm using pink, and as you can see, I got the loop on this end. And I've also got the white, and I've got a double overhand knot. It's not a loop knot, it's just a straight up double overhand knot right here. And if you need to know how to tie any of these knots, I showed how to do these on previous videos. So I think what I'll do is at the end of this video, I will put some footage of tying these different knots. You can either use a perfection loop or a double overhand loop knot here. So I think just for clarity purposes, I've got some that show that pretty well, how you do those two knots. That'll be at the end of this video. I'll just have some footage up there that you can look at, and I'll probably just play music over it. Once you've got your thread tied together at one end and a loop on one of the colors, doesn't matter which one on the other, you'll need a cordless drill with, I'm using a paper clip that's got an open hook on one end. And you'll want to put that loop over the hook on that paper clip, just like that. And you will stretch out your thread like this. You'll want to spin this long enough to get it to curl back on itself. And I will show you also, there are two different directions you can turn, counterclockwise or clockwise. If you go the wrong way, your thread's going to start to unravel. And I'll just show you real quick what that looks like. Now, you probably can't see it, but as soon as I let tension go, you see how those threads are coming apart? So you know you went the wrong way. I want to spin it back the other way real quick. And now that's twisted back together. So most of your thread's going to be a twisted thread setup anyway. What you want to make sure is whatever direction you're spinning your drill is not actually unraveling your thread. All the thread I've ever seen, if you're doing what I'm doing here, I always run it in reverse, my drill, and that does what I need it to do. I've never had one come unraveled running it in reverse. although there could be some thread that's wrapped differently. I'm not 100% sure on that. But all the ones I've ever run across, if you run your drill in reverse for what I'm doing right here, you will come out just fine. What I'm going to do now is just pull this thread out, and I'm just holding the other end in my fingers here. And I'm going to start twisting this. And I'm going to let this run for quite a while here until I get it to where I want it. And this is kind of a trial and error thing on the length of time. You'll know if your cord doesn't wrap up and give you a good consistent wrap when you're done, that you probably didn't put enough turns on it. So the next time you'll want to increase that. All right, you see how that's starting to bunch up on itself back here? With this heavier cord, it's easy to do that. I went a little too far, so I'm just going to back that off a little bit until those kinks come out. And if you let this tension off of it, if I were to move my hand this way, you'll see how it starts to wrap up on itself. That's how you know you've got it right. But you've got too much if you can't pull the kinks back out of it. So you'll want to back it up just a little to get to where it's not kinking up on you when even under tension. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm ready to furl these two lines together. I'm going to take my combination of two fishing swivels, and I'm going to hold the swivel that's open on the end. I'm going to hold it so that it can't spin until I get ready for it to spin. And I'm just going to hook the open end of this swivel over here. And I'm going to pull this end back to where I've got the two halves here right beside each other. And I'm still holding this swivel so that it can't start spinning yet. So I've got everything still under tension. Now I'm just going to let go of the swivel, and you'll see it start wrapping on itself. And as you give it a little slack, it will continue that wrapping process. So if you will take it and stretch it a few times and then let the tension off of it and let that swivel spin, it will pull all the tension out of it. So now I've got a twisted cord here. And it twisted up real nice and consistent. You'll want to tie the ends of it so that it can't come unraveled while you're actually working with it. I'm going to tie an overhand knot on this end. Like that. And I'm just going to trim it off just to get these tag ends out of the way. And on this end, I've got, you can see I had a little more white than I did the pink. So I'm going to pull my swivels back out of there. And I'm going to tie this down here somewhere where I've got the white and pink together. Just tie an overhand knot in that. And all you're doing there is tying these knots just to keep it from coming unraveled on you. But once it's done up like that, it won't unravel itself, but if it starts unwrapping at the end, but in the middle, even if you unwrap it like this, it will go right back to where it was because it's got that memory built into it now. It wants to wind up on itself. So what you can do if you're a crafter is you can do things like make bracelets like that. All I did was open up where these are wrapped together by twisting them the opposite direction, and I stuck a pencil between the two pieces long enough to where I could get one end pulled through there, and now you've got a bracelet or whatever you wanted to use it for that you can pull one end to tighten it up. You know, it's just an idea for people that are into the craft things. You could do stuff like that with it. But for the people that are doing the rod building things that I do, I'll show you some pictures and some ideas you might be able to get from using this twisted cord or twisted thread in your rod building techniques. If you're trying to learn how to furl leaders, there are a lot of videos about doing that on YouTube, and you can find a lot of information online. I got into making furled leaders myself. I do some tenkara fishing occasionally, and I learned how to make furled leaders that way. I have a contraption I use for making those furled leaders, and I might possibly do a video on it one of these days. I'm not sure. But it works really well, and I actually used it before for furling thread together for building a tenkara rod that I made. I used it as a winding check on it, and I could put a little footage of that up here on this video also, just to give you some additional ideas of what you might want to use this twisted pairs of thread for. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, if you found anything useful here, I really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. Everybody take care. I'll talk to y'all later.